It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
Thank you for joining in and listening to the 32081. We are excited to kick off another season of high school football, and based on what we've heard from you, we are expanding our coverage of teams within the 32081 area. And here to kick things off this season is the new head coach of the Tocoi Torros, Coach Kevin Doelling. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm well, buddy. Thank you for having me.
You know, I asked you how you're doing today, but that's a little bit of an understatement. I should probably say, how are you doing? Because you've been a little busy this summer. You get named head coach, and you just happen to get married to your beautiful wife, Ashley, in April. So really, how are you doing this summer? It's got to be a great summer for you.
It's been a great summer. I'm just returning from my honeymoon in the Dominican Republic. So I got a nice little tan going. I'm refreshed. I'm ready for the season to get going.
I love the DR. We love to cruise there. That's a great place to go. I bet you guys had a great time.
Oh, absolutely.
Coach, let's start off with something here. You're kind of in a similar situation, weren't you, at PK Young, where you're an assistant coach and then you were a head coach there. And what I wanted to ask you is, now that you're kind of the same situation here, offensive coordinator, and now you're a head coach at Tocoi, is there anything that you learned from your experience doing that same transition at PK Young and now you're going through to Tocoi that is going to help you move into that head coach, since you've, like I said, you've already kind of been through this process before?
So the similarities for me, right, is being able to build that relationship with the kids early on, and not necessarily being the head guy, but trying to, just learn the kids and learn the system and learn the school, really. And then being able to do that and have a better knowledge of the school and the kids, being able to step into the head job has become a better, an easier transition for me.
So you kind of hit on something I was going to ask you about right there, because I did read in the Gainesville Sun about that the athletic director back then, Kelly Barrett, one of the comments she made about you that I thought was really just spot on. She said, you are naturally engaging with people. And I know when I met you a few years back, it's the same way, even talking about this podcast, you're getting back in touch with me. And it seems like the fan base over at Tocoi just sets you up for complete success because they're so into the football program. I mean, your stadium's packed. With that said, before we get into specific with the players, I've seen the Toro Stadium packed. I mean, I've seen it loud. I've seen it, just packed to the brim, standing room only. And knowing that you're engaged with parents and the students and the fans, what can you say about a Friday night at Tocoi Stadium?
Man, so the last year I spent in the box, and if you know anything about the box, it's right above where all the fans sit.
Yep.
And getting the overview and being able to be up top and see everybody and seeing all their excitement for football around here, man, St. Augustine is a special place for football. A lot of talented football players and a lot of families really dedicated to the sport. A lot of kids love the game, and that's why it's exciting to be at Tocoi Creek. I know how much, just even in 4 years of school being open, how much they've learned and loved the game, and I'm excited to be the head coach, part of this program.
Now, you kind of hinted at earlier, knowing the student athletes and the players and the coaches, and this might sound like a stupid question, but I have to ask, how does it help you and the team overall, being an assistant coach, kind of being around the school, again, knowing the students, knowing the fans, moving into the head coach position? Does it help with continuity, and do the players and assistant coaches kind of already know what the expectations are carrying over from the last season?
So there's a general understanding of how we're going to do things. There's a select few differences between me and the former head coach, and it took a couple of days of practice for them to realize the things that were changing. But, they figured it out pretty quickly. Obviously, the offense isn't going to be changing all that much, as I was the primary play caller last year. But being here the last couple of years and being able to see what these kids are capable of and where they struggle, it's easy for me to spotlight the things that we're good and bad at. So it's really a benefit to me to have been here before and being able to see the things that I think we need to work on and get better at it immediately jumping into the seat.
Do you think it takes away some of the anxiety from the players? I mean, especially with, you're dealing with high school kids, that they kind of go, oh, you know what? We know Coach Doelling. We know him. We kind of know what to expect. And like you said, you're going to tweak it your way. You're the head coach now. But do you think it also takes some anxiety off of them?
I do. I think things are so different compared to how we grew up. I remember being a kid and being told, hey, this is your coach. You follow his lead and you do what he says. And these days, kids have a little more opinions and they have more feelings than we used to. And being a friend of theirs for the last 2 years, and that they understand me and they get me, and they kind of, hopefully they like me. It definitely them as well.
Yeah, you're right. It's a lot different from when I remember I played football. The coaches could say a lot more to us probably than you can now. So it's a little bit of a different. So so let's go ahead and jump into the season. There's two players in particular I wanted to ask you about, and maybe it's because I know them. I've been following them since they were in seventh and eighth grade, and one is on each side of the field.
Okay.
Let's talk about Blake Warner and Ryan Kilmer. Both leaders on both sides of the ball. I mean, Blake Warner just lit it up for you on defense, led the team in tackles. I think he had like 100, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
Ryan Kilmer, quarterback for a long time over at Tocoi. Both not only great individuals, but they also come from great families. So it's always hard to lose players like those two. But what are you seeing about the players now in the offseason, maybe stepping up to fill in for those two roles that are now vacated by those two graduating seniors?
Man, so I'll start with Blake. Losing Blake is going to be something that is going to be tough to overcome, and there's no denying it. He is not only a special athlete, he's a phenomenal student, a phenomenal young man. He is the type of leader that you look for when it comes to football players. I think the leadership attribute is something that is absolutely dying in this world, unfortunately. But luckily for us, we had Blake, and he still has that desire to be a front runner and show the kids the right way to do it. So replacing him is going to be difficult. We are lucky to have a young man I'm super excited for. His name's Jonah Hodges. He'll be a rising junior, and he kind of has that those similar traits. He's a good young man, a phenomenal student, loves the weight room, does everything the right way, and he leads from the front. So I think he's going to do a good job filling those shoes for him. Now, when it comes to Ryan, losing a 4-year starter, those things are hard to overcome. Obviously, we'll be limited with experience at the quarterback position, but we got two guys battling for the quarterback spot who are both phenomenal football players. First up being Lucas Whitworth. He'll be the rising senior, and he's been backing up Ryan for the last couple of years. He understands me. He understands how the offense is meant to work, and he's really a point guard when it comes to delivering the ball and understanding where it needs to get to. And Carter Alvarez, who is a rising junior, phenomenal athlete, really has dedicated himself to learning the quarterback spot this summer. So that this quarterback battle is going to be fun to watch the next couple of weeks.
But also Carter Alvarez, it's funny you brought him up. I was going to ask you about him. You say he's an athlete, but he's played multiple ways in his career over at Tocoi, correct?
Yes, sir. That's I literally have him listed. He's the only person I have listed as an ATH. He is able to play. He might even end up being our starting punter. That's how good of a how good of an.
Now was he playing defensive back also? Was that right?
He started as a free safety last year.
Free safety. I was going to ask you that because I noticed that also that he was at quarterback, and I'm familiar with Lucas as well. But with him playing like a free safety D-back kind of role and also as a quarterback, do you see that advantageous to him regardless of the position? Because it just seems to me like those two are natural. That he not only does he thinking like a quarterback when he's in the pocket, but as a safety, he's also kind of knowing what to look for in the quarterback since he plays that position himself.
Yeah, so he's started to understand, just how defenses move a little better because he starts on the opposite side of the ball at all times. So he has a general understanding of, okay, just because they might be in a too high shell, he sees early movement. He knows where people are going to kind of be before the play starts. And so that's definitely a benefit for him being a safety and a quarterback. He has a very good understanding of what defenses are looking to do.
So I'm going to ask you also the big thing going into this season, and they don't get a lot of appreciation, but they're so important, is your offensive line. And obviously with a new quarterback back there, whether it's Carter or Lucas, and trying to get the running game and the passing game going, how's the offensive line looking for you going into this season?
I'm excited for this group. It's going to be tough. We lost 4 seniors on the offensive line last year, so it's going to be difficult to replace the experience and the veteran field, especially from the center standpoint, Deshaun Blackman. Man, when you talk about not only a phenomenal athlete, but a really good human being and a monster in the weight room, the center position is so important for us because they do so much for us. We're excited. We actually are looking at a rising sophomore likely to start at that position who's a football lover and a football player. So it's going to be, it hurts to lose Deshaun, but I think we got a guy who's going to be a really damn good football player these next couple of years. We got a new starting right tackle, starting right guard. There's a couple of guys who are really fighting for a couple of spots right now. The best thing about all positions across the board for us is there's a lot of position battles going on. There's a lot of competition right now early in the summer and fall for us. So I'm excited to see kind of how this all plays out for us. But there's a lot of guys who can get the job done for us right now.
So as a new head coach, I'm assuming that the way the schedule is laid out, that the majority of the schedule for this season was probably set either last year or the year before. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir. We are on the half of our 2 year.
So the outgoing head coach really didn't leave you any favors when I looked at your schedule. I was like, holy cow. I'm like, so I'm looking, you're already in District 3A, which we'll talk about in a second. That's got you, Bartram, Nice, and Buchholz. That's no joke. Okay. But then I look at your non-district schedule, how you start off with, and you start out at First Coast and you also have Bishop Kenny. And then you get into that stretch where you have Bartram, Beachside, and Buchholz. I mean, it seems like that's a really good, I mean, it's a tough first part of the schedule you look at, but it looks like it's also going to be a good ramp up for you going into what I think is one of the top districts, not only in the area, but possibly in the state with those 4 teams. So would you agree with that assessment with First Coast, Bishop Kenny before you get into district play?
Yeah, I definitely don't. When I look at our schedule, I don't see anything that I would consider a cupcake. That's
no,
sure.
No.
There's nothing easy about this schedule. And then obviously when you start talking about the district, I mean, you got just alone in the district, you have 2 of the top 25 teams overall in the state. And then you also throw in how good of a football team Bartram Trail is. So there's nothing easy. I won't be, I'll be losing a lot of sleep, I would assume, these next couple of months.
I mean, it's when, going into that district, you talk about Bartram. I mean, Bartram pushed Nice to the limit last year, and then, of course, Buchholz played him tough. So it's going to be a tough district. There's no doubt about that. And leading into that, I've kind of asked other coaches about this in general, but when you look at, say, your district and you look at the players there that are being recruited, and not only that, just playing on Friday nights, and you look at also just Jacksonville, Duval County, St. Johns County, Nassau, you look at Northeast Florida area, what is your assessment of how strong football has gotten in the high school level in Northeast Florida?
It's kind of unfortunate that the south part of the state gets all the attention and all the credit for how much they have, because this place is so just disrespected with how good of football players we have. I mean, I watched Arthur Lewis at Bartram run for what felt like 500 yards against us, and he's he's going to go to a Power 5 school. He's going to, I believe, UCF, and he's just not talked about the way I think he probably deserves to get talked about. There's Jacob Curry, the safety at Nice. I think he's one of the better football players in the country. Obviously, he's going to Northwestern, and he gets a ton of credit, but I still don't think he's talked about enough. Obviously, Buchholz, I don't know if you saw anything about the game last year, but we had Justin Williams set the state record for touchdowns against us. So I know he gets plenty of appreciation, but again, still guys who are just so darn talented at football. It's really impressive, and it's fun to watch. Unfortunately, sometimes we're on the receiving end of a butt whooping from them, but it's cool to be a part of watching the Northeast part of the state develop and play really good football.
You say that, it's funny is you talk about the individual players and I agree with you, but one thing that also stuck out when you talk about disrespect is when Ponte Vedra traveled down to IMG last year and they beat IMG, and you come back and you think that's a great win, and people are still going, well, that's their white team, I think it was, or that's their varsity team. That's not their, I'm going, but it's still IMG. They still traveled down there and won and played a great game. And you're right. I don't understand it. Maybe it'll change, but I agree with you. I think there's some great football here in Northeast Florida.
Yeah, and Ponte Vedra, I know if you know the name Carl Smelter, he was here that first year with me at Tocoi. He's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. I know they are loaded with talent. I don't know some of their guys specifically, but I know how good of a football team they are. So, again, you look at what the teams up here in Northeast Florida are doing, it's all good football right now.
So going into the season, last question I have to ask for you. Like I said, I've experienced it myself. But let me ask you, if people are going to come out and watch the Toros, if they're thinking about coming out on a Friday night and experiencing the atmosphere out there, can you share with me why should people come out and watch the Toros? I know why, but I want to hear it from you because it is one heck of an atmosphere.
So first of all, you get the student section. I am fully committed to the idea that Tocoi Creek has the best student section, whether it's football or basketball, whatever it may be. These kids love their athletics here at Tocoi Creek. And then after that, you talk about what the product on the field is going to look like. It's going to be a nasty, hard-hitting defense. I love what our defense coordinator is putting together on that side of the ball. and hopefully we're going to be a really, really explosive offense. We got 6 to 7, maybe even 8 receivers right now that I really trust being on the field. We got 3 or 4 running backs that I love seeing what they're doing right now, and I got two options at quarterback who are really, really capable of getting the job done. So I'm hoping for an explosive offense, a hard-nosed defense, and a whole lot of fun watching the game.
Coach, we look forward to covering the Toros this season. We wish you the best of luck, and congratulations again on your marriage to Ashley, as well as being named head coach. So we wish you the best of luck this season. And again, we hope to talk to you during the season, maybe some players and fans, and covering the Toros.
I appreciate you having me, buddy.
And I'd like to thank Coach Kevin Doelling from the Tocoi Torros for joining us today. And also, be sure to catch their home opener. It's going to be at 7 o'clock on Friday, August 22nd, as they host First Coast. And then the following week, they will also be hosting West Side. So be sure to get out and watch the Toros. Once again, thank you for listening to the 32081.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.